Tonight, I'm going to discuss Spence-Chapin's mentorship program and the ways in which it's built community for adopted tweens and teens. I'll share information about this program along with my own personal experiences as a longtime mentor. So my name is Jessica Luciere, and I have worked with Spence-Chapin for close to 20 years. I first came here as a panelist and then eventually became a mentor in our program. I was one of the founding mentors, and I now have the pleasure of overseeing the program for Spence-Chapin. This program was born out of a want from our adopted tweens and teens many years ago, 15 years ago. They had wanted to create a space where they were able to connect with each other, hear from older adoptees, and really build a community. So we're glad to say that after all of these years, after 15 years, this program is still thriving and growing. And we pride ourselves in having a very diverse group of individuals who've joined us over the years, from our mentors to our mentees, who are both all internationally and domestically adopted. It really allows for us to have a very dynamic group with dynamic conversations and activities. Overseeing this program is an honor, truly an honor for me. This is something I've dedicated most of my life to. Being around other adoptees, hearing their stories and experiences has always been very meaningful to me. So to now be at the helm of this program, it's a very important role that I'm very grateful to have. So who are our mentors? Our mentors are adopted adult volunteers who are ages 21 and up, both internationally and domestically adopted. All of our mentors are screened and trained by Spence-Chapin staff, and we make sure that we speak with our mentors before onboarding them to get a gauge of where they are in their own adoption identity, and it's important for them to have a healthy and growing open adoption identity. We've been very, very lucky over the years to have so many of our volunteers come back to us. Some of our mentors have been with us for over 10 years now, and these mentors dedicate so much of their time and their lives, their hearts to this program, and it's meaningful. It's why our program is so successful. And we have a very diverse group of people. We have people who are both internationally and domestically adopted, which offers a really great platform for our kids to really find the mentors in the group that they connect the most with. So who are our mentees? Our mentees are middle school and high school age kids who are also both internationally and domestically adopted. They range in ages from 11 to 18 years old. And these are kids who were adopted at all different ages. When we onboard our kids, we always make sure that we speak with them and speak with their families and make sure that they understand that a group like this is something where we hope for them to grow. So for them to be open and willing to be a part of a group like this and to be open to having conversations about adoption, we understand that for some of them it's their first experience in speaking about their adoption. So for them to be open-minded walking into the group is very important for us, and it's important for them. It really gives them a good platform to be able to grow and connect. What do we do in the mentorship program? Our meetings are once per month. It's always on a Saturday between September and June. And we do both on-site and off-site events. Our on-site events are adoption days. They're also identity days where we focus a little bit more on the conversation of adoption and identity. And then we have off-site events, which are at various locations throughout Manhattan. Some of our events are more recreational. which, really helps to promote the idea of having fun. It's very important for us to make sure that our kids are having a good time in this program while also giving them a space to be able to share and grow with their fellow mentees and mentors. But we want them to have a good time. So every other event is an offsite event. These offsite events are really important because they help to bond the group, because kids can share a lot about their adoption experiences when we do adoption days. But when they get to experience each other on offsite events and have fun, it adds a different element of closeness to the group, which I think really helps us continue to grow together, but also it helps to make sure that the kids are getting to know each other on a peer level. So some of the recent mentorship activities that we've done are, we've gone to the Central Park Zoo, we've gone to the New York Aquarium. And when we were at the aquarium, we also were at Coney Island, so we were at the amusement park over there. We've done the painting lounge in Midtown, where they do a guided painting group activity. We've done the National Geographic underwater experience in Times Square. We've taken the kids to the Met. We've done scavenger hunts in Grand Central Station. And when we have our events that are off-site, we really like to break the groups up into smaller groups so that the kids get to interact and get to know each other and get to know different people that they may not have connected with. And then when we have our on-site days, we do a lot of team building. We do a lot of group activities. We do a lot of therapeutic sort of art projects and things that allow for them to really express themselves. Also, at our mentorship events, at every event, we always have lunch provided for our kids. What is Adoption Day? Adoption Day is a day where we have an event on site, and this is a day where we have both of the kids and the mentors and the kids' parents with us to participate in this day, where we have some events that are together, but then we also break the group up. The kids will go off with the mentors after we have lunch, and we usually do a group-led discussion about adoption, identity, and these are days where we really like to focus on the things that are the most meaningful to the kids. So we really do listen to what the kids say to us, not only on these very important and kind of on these days where we do more of a quote-unquote deep dive, but we're also always listening to the kids, because when you're in a group of adoptees and you're in a program like this, the conversation of adoption is bound to come up, especially when we're on offsite events, because when kids know that they are with other adoptees, it's just bound to come up, even in the most unusual kinds of circumstances. And it's in those moments that we really do make sure that we're paying attention to the things that they bring up, whether it be about their peer relationships, it be about bullying in school, it be about differences at home, questions about being in transracial families, things that have to do more about their adoption story or even their birth families. We make sure that we're listening to our kids throughout our program so that we can really sculpt these days to talk to the things that are important to them. And that's exactly what Adoption Day is. We, of course, always encourage fun. We allow for a very open and safe space, and we make sure that the kids understand that where they're sharing with their peers in that setting, we also have older adoptees in the room, because all of our mentors are adopted. And a lot of us have been at a lot of these places where they're feeling like they might be feeling alone, and some of the things that they might be experiencing. They don't know if there's anyone else out there who has experienced these things. So that's really the beauty of these days. We're really able to talk to each other, hear each other's stories. They're able to hear the mentors' stories and really get a better idea of how much more connected they actually are to these mentors, to these older adoptees, than they may have thought. So if you're looking at the screen, we have the first slide, the first photo is kind of a tapestry that we've done. And this was an event where we asked the kids and the mentors to create a square, to create this quilt, really just showing their own individuality. We wanted them to have things on there that reflected something of themselves, their interests, something that they wanted to share about themselves, and the mentors also. And then we put it all together, and it becomes this wonderful, very unified example of how we can all have very different stories as our, as adoptees, come from very different places, have very different adoption stories, but we are all a part of this family together, and this tapestry kind of expresses that. And when we have these kinds of events on Adoption Day, there are days that we do activities like this, and then at the end of the day, we ask the parents to come in, and they get to see it themselves. They get to see the activities that we've done, and where we don't ask the kids to necessarily point out what in particular is their piece that they've contributed, they get to see it as a whole. And I think it helps to make sure that the parents understand that this group is really a group of very unique individuals who have a very shared experience, and it's very special for their kids to be a part of a group like that. On Adoption Day, like I said, this is also a day where we have the parents come in, and when we have our kids working on their project with the mentors and having their conversations, the parents will then break off with a clinician and have their own day where they get to talk to each other, they get to share each other's stories, hear each other's stories, because as parents, with all of the things that come with parenting teenagers and tweens, it's always nice to hear from fellow adoptive parents who may be going through some of the same things that you're going through at home. To be able to hear from older adoptees when we have a panelist that comes in. So these days are very powerful, and it also helps to encourage the conversation of adoption to not only be within the walls of Spence-Chapin on those days and within the confines of these events, but also it really does open the conversation to be continued at home. And that's exactly what we want. We want this program to be a launch pad for families to feel comfortable in talking more openly and more comfortably about adoption. Also, on some of the adoption days, we have done mask making, which is a project. It's probably one of the first art projects that we've done in the mentorship program many years ago. And it was so successful. It was really a day where, the idea of making a mask, the kids are given the tools to make a mask, all different sorts of crafts, feathers, and stickers and markers, and it's really an activity where it allows for a lot of introspective thinking to happen, and to think about what you want to present to the world if you got a chance to kind of create what people see of you. And it was such a powerful and positive activity that we actually worked it into its own activity here at Spence-Chapin. And now mask making is a day that you can sign up for as a family individually, separate from the mentorship program. And it's been one of our longest running activities that has really yielded a lot of success and has really brought a lot of it continues that conversation of talking about adoption, talking about identity more openly, and then it allows for that conversation to continue at home. So what do we do on Adoption Day? Well, we talk about adoption, and we make sure that the kids feel like any concerns that they have are really voiced. And like I said, being in a group of all adoptees, these kids tend to share with us sometimes more of the things that they're going through than they would at home, than they would with their own peers. And it is very important to us to be able to talk about these things. But we also make sure to make everyone in that room feel supported. And we want to make sure that if there's any topics that sometimes can be too heavy, and the topic of adoption itself, when you're talking about yourself and you're talking about your own story, can be very heavy. And that's the wonderful thing about the way that we place these adoption days. And adoption days happen in the middle of each semester, so that they're not in the beginning of the semester. We do not expect for our kids to just walk into this program and be able to share the most intimate parts of their adoption identity and their forming adoption identity. So they're placed in the middle after there's some time for them to do, for them to bond, for them to get to know their mentors, for them to feel comfortable in the group. So we've done on adoption days, we've had conversations, we do art activities, we've shown some movies, some clips that have to do with adoption. So we really, after all of these years, have kind of perfected the way in which we deliver the conversation of adoption to make sure that we're being supportive of everyone in the room. Our mentors are very conscious of each individual that's there, every child. At that point in our program, we really do get to know our kids. So we can kind of tell who might need some more support, who might need to step out of the room for a moment. And our mentors are always ready and willing and able to do that. And the most important thing that is a ground rule that we lay down from the very first day, and we continue to reiterate as the program continues, is that we do not force anyone to share anything. We do not have any expectations that children share their story, because we understand that this is so personal. Sometimes it takes kids, some time to really feel comfortable. And sometimes they find their ways to express themselves and their stories in ways that don't come out specifically on these adoption or identity days. And that's fine. We're all there to support each other. And that's also the beauty of how we have crafted this program. We do not offer a one-on-one mentoring program. Our program is designed so that our kids get to know their mentors as a group. They get to know their peers as a group, because each individual activity that we have for these kids offers a new experience, offers a new opportunity for them to connect with somebody. Where they might have connected with somebody on an adoption day, they could very well connect with somebody completely different on an offsite day when we're at the aquarium, and so on and so forth. And so allowing for the group to be open, for the group to always engage each other. We always promote the idea of group activities, and we always like to mix the groups up so that if we see some kids are getting to know each other, we like to, of course, encourage that, but we also like to encourage them getting to know other kids, other mentors. And it really allows for a very well-bonded group at the end of the year. I think that any of our mentors and our mentees can walk away and say that they feel like they have gotten to know, at least, they've gotten to know everyone in the program, at least at one specific event throughout the year, and then especially on on-site days when we get to really hear each other's stories. Why should we join the mentorship program? The mentorship program is fun, it's educational, and it's important. Adoptees having a place to connect is paramount in developing our own sense of identity, and hearing each other's story and being able to connect with one another on such a deep-rooted level is extremely invaluable. I can speak for myself in saying that I had never been in a group of other adoptees until I got into this program. And the power that you feel in a room like that, when you know that not only are your peers adopted, the mentors are adopted, the facilitator is adopted, the intern is adopted. It really allows for such an open space for everyone to feel comfortable sharing, for everyone to feel comfortable being open and vulnerable, and being willing to listen and understand that your story can be very different from somebody else's, but you may have a lot of things in common. And again, we promote fun. We want this program to have a lasting impact on these kids. And if we talk about adoption every single event and it's heavy, they will have a lasting impact, but a lasting impression of the program. But we want them to remember the fun times that we were offsite, that they got to see the mentors in a more casual setting and having a good time. We like to craft our offsite events specifically from the suggestions of our program. We always ask our kids what they want to do. We ask our mentors what they're interested in, and we craft our schedule according to that. We like to keep updated events. We like to do new events. We like to do pop-ups when we can, because it keeps everything fresh and present and new. And also, from the adoptive parents' point of view, this is also a place where you get to connect with other adoptive parents. You get to meet our mentors, who are, in ways, the adult reflection of your own kids, which is really wonderful. And the people that we have as mentors in this program are incredible. They are so well versed in meeting new people, understanding new families that come in, and how much can kind of come with that. It's very difficult to kind of join a new group in whatever capacity in your life, but this is something so deep-rooted and so personal. And our mentors really make sure that they're making connections with the families, they're making connections with the kids, and that's an ongoing thing. At every event, you will see our mentors there when you drop your kids off. At the events that you're here on site, you'll get to sit down with them and have lunch with them and ask them questions. All of our mentors are completely willing and happy to answer any questions you may have. And they're so wonderful that, you can ask them questions about the program. You can ask them questions about their own personal life. And that's what makes them such invaluable people in the Spence-Chapin family, because they are so willing to share so much of themselves. It's not only their time, it's also their willingness to share about their own personal experiences and their stories and what this program means to them. So what makes Spence-Chapin's program so unique? Again, going back to the idea of it being a group mentorship program that really allows for everyone to kind of get to know each other and experience, each other on different days, both on-site and off-site. The longevity of the program, of course. We're in our 15th year. The diversity of the people that join us. We have, again, internationally and domestically adopted people who are also adopted at all different ages. The strengths of the relationships that have been built within this program. It's completely unique, because in mentoring programs, it's easy for people to just get connected with a mentee based on similarities, based on a need. For us, our relationships are based on a deep-rooted shared experience that sometimes our kids, this is the place where they're able to really share their experiences. This is the place where they're really able to find that older reflection of themselves and make long-lasting, life-lasting connections. A lot of our mentors have gone on to continually mentor people who have aged out of our program, stay in contact with, still keep in touch with and see them when they're in town, if they're away from college, when they come home. And that's the most rewarding part of it, is just seeing how our mentors really keep those connections alive. And because we have had such wonderful connections made through our program, we now have 2 former mentees who are now mentors. one who is she's in grad school right now, and she had been a part of our program for many years, matriculated throughout the program. And then another one of our mentors, who was one of our first mentees in our program, has now come back, and she's in her second year of being a mentor. And these two individuals get to offer a different perspective of what this program means and the long-lasting effects of what a community like this, having a community like this at such an early time in their lives, at such formative times, has really meant to them. And it means so much to them that they want to come back and they want to be able to give that kind of experience to the next generation of adoptees. So I'm interested, what's next? Well, our calendar, our mentee and mentor applications are all available on the sidebar to download. So you can find all of those documents there. And the schedule of events. And then our website is a wonderful resource. We are constantly updating our website. You can see some photos from our mentorship program this year. You're able to kind of read some testimonials from former mentees and mentors about our program. And, that's really kind of the first place that people are able to find our program. There's also the frequently asked questions section, which also can answer a lot of questions that you may have. Secondly, you can call me. Call me, email me with any questions that you may have. Like I said, I have been part of this program for 15 years, and I know all of the ins and outs of the program. I have lasting relationships with the mentors, the mentees, and I think that if anyone can answer any questions, it would be me. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have specific about your own family, your situation. If you're wondering if this program is right for you, if it's the right time for your child, the next step would be to complete an application and then come in for an interview. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Feel free to type them into the sidebar. Okay. So I see a question here. What if my child is resistant to joining this program? Well, I can tell you that most kids are resistant to joining this program. It's probably the most consistent part of the onboarding process when families find us. These are very formative years for our kids, and tween and teen years, they're really figuring out their own identity. They are trying to fit in with their own social circles and peer groups and school. There's a lot going on. So talking about adoption, talking about their adoption and their adoption identity, which I think for most kids is a very new term, is really a new concept and probably something that they're not as consciously thinking about as those other things. So we anticipate this, and we want to make sure that our kids understand that this is really more of a social group for them, with this common thread kind of, strewn throughout. But we welcome openness, we welcome resistance, and we have had great success over the years of having kids who come into this program not sure if they want to share, not being sure if they want to share, not being sure if they're ready to share, not being sure how to share. But again, the ethos and of this program really allows for our mentors to be able to create a space where everyone is accepted, everyone is understood, everyone is listened to, and everyone is given the space to find their comfortability in being able to share and indulge in the adoption identity formation that we kind of get to within this program. Okay, what if I can't commit to a full year? So the wonderful thing about this program is that we're very aware that our kids are very busy. Our families are very busy, and we encourage that. We're very happy to hear that our kids are involved in so many different activities, which is why we have decided to break up the school year into 2 semesters. So we have a fall semester, and our fall semester runs from September through January, and then we have a spring semester, which runs from February into June. So again, in both of those 2 semesters, we have the first event is a welcoming event, then we have an offsite event, and then we have an adoption day, and then so on and so forth until the end of the month. And then the same thing goes for the spring semester. So we really do give kind of an equal experience for both semesters for all of the kids that join us, because we want to make sure that, just because a child can't join in the fall, they're getting that same kind of experience in the spring. And where they may come into a group where other kids have gotten to know each other in the fall, then, we still have those days in place where they're going out, they're getting to know the group, and they're getting to be able to share their experience and their stories on adoption and identity days. What's our next question? What does the interview entail? So when we ask you to come in for an interview, the interview is done after we ask you for an application, after you send in an application. So the application asks basic questions about your family. It's generally filled out by the parents, but there is a page on there for the children to answer some of their own questions. And those are really questions that we gear more towards, tell us a little bit about yourself, what are the things that you're interested in, because when we do our interviews, we do interview as a family, and I do the interview myself along with our intern. And when we interview the family, we make sure to go over the program, answer any questions that people may have, go over the calendar itself. And then we like to be able to speak with the child on their own and ask them, questions about what they think it would be like to be in a group like this, and for them to be able to feel comfortable without their parents in the room asking questions about this program, because it is the parents that generally find our program and then express interest in wanting to find out some more information. So then the interview happens. And sometimes these kids really are wondering if this is the right place for them. And really the only way to get to those answers is by being able to talk to them on their own. My child was not adopted through Spence-Chapin. Can they still join? Absolutely. By any means in which a child has been adopted, we welcome those folks to come and join us. We have children who were adopted as babies, as toddlers, and then even as older kids, through all different avenues. So we really do welcome Spence-Chapin families and families who are adoptive families beyond Spence-Chapin. So that's about it. You have my information on this last page. My name is Jessica Luciere, and my direct number is 212-360-0276, and my email address is at the bottom of the page. Again, those documents for you to download, the calendar, the mentee and mentor applications are all on the sidebar. So if you'd like to submit any of those, please email them right over to me. We do have a survey that we'll be sending out at the end of this webinar. And feel free to call me with any further questions. I'm available, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. Have a good night.